So I bought Formula 1 2015 to do an unbiased review of after some people, whilst the game was in development, claimed that it was different from the previous Formula 1 games. Now this is the 7th Formula 1 game published by CodeMasters and the 6th developed by them. After 5 previous goes you'd think they've got it right by now. Well guess what, on the PC, they haven't. Yet again it's another sloppy console port. Who could have imagined? What's really depressing about this though is that you can see there's people that work at CodeMasters that are ridiculously talented and have done an absolutely fantastic job on this. For example, the car models, the track models, the texture work, the attention to detail with spectators taking out umbrellas and being nicely animated depending on the weather conditions. Trackside grass that gets flattened if you drive across it and then remains like that for the remainder of the race. And quite remarkably, just about all the teams and people from those teams have been digitised and placed in this game with really nice mo-capped animations. Mind you, it does look like a phantom Botox injector has managed to get into the garages, stab everyone in the face and escape with people none the wiser. The point is though, there's clearly a lot of passionate people that have done a fantastic job on this title. Where does it all fall apart then? Well, quite simply, it falls apart on the one aspect of the driving game that's slightly important. The driving. Granted, the handling does appear to be better from what I remember of the previous Formula 1 games, especially if you're playing with a gamepad. The cars are far less likely to randomly rotate uncontrollably if you happen to clip a curb or make a slight error. You can also get into a little bit of powered oversteer and slide the cars around a tiny bit as well, though it does feel somewhat canned. However, as soon as you plug in a steering wheel, something that lets you control things to a far higher degree of precision than a gamepad, that's when you start to notice the issues. First of all, the biggest, most glaring issue being there's no real way to properly configure your steering wheel and pedals. Now, how is it that this company has produced God knows how many driving games, and in fact was the leader for driving games at one point in time, millions of years ago, and have not got the idea of having proper wheel and pedal configuration? I don't understand it. Even more remarkable is that they have another game in development on the market that actually does have proper wheel and force feedback configuration. On top of that, there seems to be a massive amount of steering latency, separate pedals like the Club Sport V2s with load cell brake don't seem to work properly, and the force feedback configuration is absolutely woeful. Oh, but the negatives don't stop there. Unfortunately, the game also suffers from absolute chronic consolitis. If you want to turn off the motion blur, then you're going to have to edit an INI file. And if you want to get rid of that Vaseline that's been smeared over the screen and the chromatic aberration that's at the side of the image, then tough, there's no way to get rid of that as of yet. Oh, we're not done yet, there's no mouse support, the game is unstable for many people with it crashing on exit for us, multi-screen support not done properly, ridiculous menu layout making it feel like the labyrinth, public multiplayer that makes no sense and doesn't seem to work half the time, and the list just goes on and on. Now if this was released as an early access title for 20 quid, then I wouldn't be so critical, because I'd expect these other updates and tweaks and performance enhancements to come with good time. What seems to have happened is that because the Formula 1 season is practically over or halfway through, CodeMasters have been forced to get this title out the door. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in a contract is written, you must have the Formula 1 game out before the 2015 season is halfway through. You must also run Bernie's feet on Tuesdays. So all in all, I can see that there have been some core improvements in the underlying game engine and some of the underlying functionality of the title. But then at the same time, it definitely feels more sparse. A lot of the features seem to be missing that were in the previous titles. For example, there's no real career mode. You can go through each race as one of the drivers in a championship season, but that's just not the same. Mind you, CodeMasters did say, don't worry, it will be in the next game. If you've just spent 40 quid on a game, then you don't want to hear that. You want to hear that the feature's going to be in the game that you've just bought, or maybe added shortly after launch. Now that would be forgivable and perfectly reasonable. So really, in summary, if you were looking for a vague representation of what Formula 1 looks like on TV in the form of a game, and you intend to play it with a gamepad somewhat semi-casually, then yeah, it's alright. The AI is not terrible, the tracks are nicely modelled, and when it runs alright without crashing, it can be quite fun. Not for 40 quid, really. I think they should have sold it for cheaper given that it lacks so many features, but I can see why or how a lot of people could get enjoyment from it. If, however, you were intending to play this on PC with a steering wheel and you wanted something that's quite drivable and maybe you weren't expecting something as great as the top PC simulators and you were happy to compromise, still, I think you're probably going to be very disappointed if you drop 40 quid on this, and you're probably going to want to avoid it like the plague. So if you really wanted to throw money at CodeMasters and you wanted a decent driving game, buy them Dirt Rally. Just get that instead, forget this happened, and maybe after another 6 games they'll have a decent Formula 1 game. If you genuinely want to feel what it's like to drive an F1 car without getting in the real thing, then you're going to have to pick up something like a Assetto Corsa, R-Factor 1, R-Factor 2, Live for Speed, or Game Stock Car, as they all do a far better job than Formula 1 2015 at capturing the experience of what it's like to drive one of these insane vehicles. I hope you enjoyed this review. If you did, please like it, click the subscribe button that's on the screen right now, and of course, troll us in the comments. Tell us what we got right, what we got wrong, what you'd like to see in future reviews, all that business. I'm going to go and have a cup of tea now. Goodbye.